Stan.
Thank you very much.
Glad to have you here.
So, thanks Professor Good for letting me come. A couple things. Unless I'm signing, which I do all the time, I'm an interpreter for the deaf. Verbally, I just rock. So hang in. If I go too fast, you can tell me to chill out and slow down. This class will be, or this little presentation will have a different bent, I think, than what you have typically got. There will be nothing here about curriculum or design or anything else. This is all about internet startups. So hopefully this is some value to some, and if not, you can go back to your computers and do homework like someone will be doing anyway. So let me just kind of kick out. And along the way, please stop me, ask a question. We won't worry about Q&A at the back end unless we're getting totally off in the weeds. So Stan Bassett, I'm the president of Tech Media Network. Tech Media Network is a family of 16 websites. It is the largest website provider in the state of Utah that you've never heard of. For the month of September, we did about 30 million visits that came to our sites. So if you're familiar with Overstock, the LDS Church, BYU, Des News, Ancestry.com, they're all smarter than we are. If you're familiar with CNET, you may know CNET out there if you look for technology or content in that realm. CNET is #1 globally, we're #2. So it's easy today to say that. It was not so easy 5 years ago to say that when I first joined the firm. So we'll talk a little bit about Tech Media Network, an internet startup, and then I'm also changing careers. That one is off and doing fantastic and heading to an IPO. And I've had an itch that I've wanted to scratch for 20 years in education. And so the time has come for me to scratch that itch. And a friend of mine, Doug Stringham, came through this program. And I watched Doug's progression through the program, and we talked and exchanged some ideas. So that's why I've been at a few of your seminars recently, because I'm excited, quite frankly, to work with some of you as we talk about this new startup. So let's talk about a couple things here. First, this thing right here. Any ideas what that is?
Square watermelons?
You know what? You get the big prize for the day. Okay, that is a square watermelon. Okay, in Japan, retail floor space is so expensive that finally some guy decided to think in the box and not out of the box. So a farmer created these little plastic boxes to which he would put the watermelon plant. The watermelon plant would then produce said watermelon fruit. Said watermelon fruit could then, on the retail floor, be what? Stacked. He was able to sell a lot more watermelons per square foot, and did actually very, very well. And then turned around and sold his plastic box idea to every other farmer and made a lot more money selling that than he did selling watermelons. So as we think about changing the paradigms and changing them of ideas, that's one of the reasons why I'm here talking to you guys, because I think over the next 10 years, we're going to see education dramatically explode. And it will require this kind of change of thinking. So a little more in the technology world, you know what this is? Maybe I'll make it easier.
It's a little iPod card swiper.
You're right, otherwise known as?
Box. The box.
Square.
Square.
Okay, that's Square. Have you heard of this before? Okay, what Square does, Square allows me to go like this, to pull out my smartphone, put it into the audio jack, and it now becomes a credit card reader.
I keep waiting for this to come around for us to be able to pay tithing at church this week.
Well,
Make it so much easier.
Yeah, I got my ward clerk, right, walking up and down the aisles instead of a plate, right? You can just
Swipe your tithing.
So let's talk about this for a second as it comes to thinking something different. Okay, Square will process $6 billion in transactions in 2012. That's like insane. I mean, that's just a huge. The traction that Square got out of the gate was just monstrous. Why? Every brownie, every tithing collector, every hairdresser, every contractor, every small business person has struggled for years. Pardon me?
Taxi drivers.
Taxi drivers, okay, have struggled for years to take credit cards. Okay, the merchant account, the fees, the setup, the credit bureau, okay, really, really difficult. Okay, so these guys come along and say, I wonder, and what it takes to think creatively, to think, hey, you know what? I'm going to invent this little device that fits into the what? The audio jack of my smartphone, and now turn it into a credit card reader. Blows my mind. Okay, so kick it off with that to say we've got to find new ways to meet demand. But when you find a way to meet demand, man, it just sales. Just sales. Again, $6 billion in transactions. So for an internet startup, there's really only two things that matter. Okay, one, driving traffic, and two is making money. Okay, everything else is irrelevant. Okay, if you can't do those two things, then don't bother trying to get in the internet. Okay, go ahead.
And what about costs? I mean, it seems like you gotta keep those in mind also.
Yeah, but you know what though? If I can't do this, and who cares about the cost? Because I won't make any money. So my costs are irrelevant unless I get people to my site. All right? So if you can't drive traffic, which then makes the money, everything else in terms of cost, employees, everything else, moot point. Okay? So we're going to talk about that today as we talk about traffic and driving money. You can write this down if you'd like, because there's no way I can blow this up. These are all the Google algorithm changes that have happened over the last few years. If you're a content website, and what I mean by that is you're a website and you create content from recipes to Eagle Court plans to what we do, we write reviews of technology products. Why buy this product over this product? We own space.com. What's going on in the latest? Well, Falcon just blew up to the International Space Station. So those kind of articles. Okay? So we create content. Content websites have this love-hate relationship with Google. Okay? You may or may not, in your world, have heard of things like Panda, Mayday, Caffeine. All those are cute little names that Google has come up with where they've changed their algorithm. A typical content site gets the majority of their traffic through search. Right? You're looking for something, you go to Google, right? I'm looking for whatever, it pulls up a bunch of search results, and what do? You click on 80% of the time the first one, and that drops down from there, 1, 2, or 3, and you go find a site. When Google changes its algorithm, okay, what happens to traffic? I heard the sound effect of it. Yeah, there's the sound effect. So these are all the changes that have happened. Again, if you have an interest, we'll show you that. So here's an example. This is a real company. This was called ComScore. ComScore is to the web what Nielsen is to TV. So they measure how many people are coming to your site. So when Ford wants to advertise on sites, they go to ComScore and they say, I need the biggest sites in technology, education, women, whatever. Okay, so ComScore is a pretty big deal. So I've taken the name of this company out because they're fairly well known. But so here's a content site. In 1 year, because of algorithm changes, they've lost half their traffic. Now, if all of your money depends on people walking through the door or to your site, because you're ad-based, right? If you've been to a site, you've seen little advertisements displayed, that's how predominantly most sites on the web make money. Okay, they run ads. Right, how many of you enjoy that ad experience? Okay.
Is that a real URL? Because
No, it's not. I've torn it out.
Oh,
right?
okay.
I didn't want to embarrass the guy.
Oh, okay.
Right? So I just put content site up there.
Okay.
Again, that's part of the reason why I asked for this to be somewhat confidential, so as not to surprise too many folks outside of there, rather than putting it out on the web.
So they really are doing homework here. They're
I
really
can see it. He was looking to say, who is this fool who lost half his traffic? So this guy, the valuation of his company, okay, overnight dropped by more than half, because it's a multiple of that, and he had no control over it. So what do? If you were running an ice cream store, a bread store, an auto mechanic, and all of a sudden half the traffic stopped coming, and the source of the remainder of your traffic was still playing with those algorithm changes, you can see why I called it a love-hate relationship. Right? Now, in contrast, you have other guys who find a way to work with Google, but also tend to work with direct navigation. A few of you heard of these guys before? Okay. Now, why is Pinterest so successful? This group had better understand that question. Why is Pinterest so successful? Please.
Because it's one of the best ways to filter tons and tons and tons of content on
Okay.
the web.
Well,
And it's visual, so you can
Yeah.
navigate it in a different way than just typing it and getting a bunch of listed links.
Okay, so one visual I'll give you. Okay? The most successful sites over the last few years have taken what we call an analog experience and made the digital experience better. Okay? Folks have cut stuff out of magazines and posted images and pictures for a long, long time. Okay? This allows you to visually grab, share, look at, and so now today, Pinterest exceeds Facebook in driving qualified traffic to stores. Now, if you think about how you make money in the web, okay, I don't want to be an ad shop. Relying on advertising is really, really dangerous, really, really scary, and we'll talk about that here in a second. If I can successfully have a great user experience, and you say, you know what, I want this chair. And I go to Pinterest and I find some things, some other folks have talked about it, I get a great review of it, I say, this is the chair I want, I'm now going to go to Overstock and buy this chair. Overstock pays me sending this guy to their site. Okay? Going forward, you will see significant more money made there than you will in advertising. More predictable, more dependable, more that I can control than relying on advertising. Okay? So as you think about what you guys do, changing paradigms would be in education, curriculum design, okay? Making an analog experience a better and improved digital experience just rocks. Okay? Same thing here with Square, okay, as I mentioned before. I've had this pain for a really long time. I haven't been able to accept credit cards. I can now accept credit cards. No credit report, no background check, no deposits, 2%. Let's go. And adoption is just absolutely off the chart. That's how much they've grown in 1 year. Let's talk about advertising as a revenue stream. Okay, when you go to a site today, you have a little square on the right-hand side. Okay, a very typical ad display. It's called a 300 by 250. See it right there? So here's a web page. This is what 300 by 250 looks like. Okay, that space used to sell for $15 to $20. CPM stands for every 1,000 people who came to my site. For every 1,000 people who came to the site, I would pay the publisher between those dollar figures. 5 years later, today, that same real estate is only worth that. Okay? Now, we now go to the next problem. If I'm Ford, and we'll go back to Ford again. There was a study last week that just came out from the Online Publishers Association. How many of the impressions or ads are actually deliverable? Okay? So in my world, this is really, really big. Okay? 70 to 80% of all impressions don't work. Because you pull the page up, I can't see it because it's below the fold or it's off my screen. Okay, 1. 2, you click off so fast, the ad doesn't load. Okay? Broken links, etc. So, I'm spending this kind of money, 3/4 of the impressions never really get delivered, and now as an online publisher I have this new problem called Facebook. Facebook is going to start making available next month 8 billion new ad impressions. Okay, so an ad impression is where a person can see an ad on a web page. For those of you who are economics minors, hopefully a few of you, if I introduce 8 billion of anything, okay, into supply, what happens to my price? It craters. So between Pinterest and Facebook, and I can name a variety of other sites that have lots and lots of pages, the value of those pages go down. So if I create content, what do I do? How do I still make money? Okay, how do I drive traffic? How do I go from there? So, talk about brain damage. Let's talk about the changing landscape today. All right, again, important here as you think about design. This is the number of global internet users. And can you see adoptions and ads? China, there's the penetration of the population. So what's going to happen in internet growth globally? We're already at 80%, and this is actually old, so it's even beyond that. So how much more growth will you see in the U.S. of internet adoption? Minimal. Okay, what we see everywhere else. Okay, significant. Okay, as a content provider, the $4 to $5 you saw today that I make off of U.S. traffic, I make 75 cents per 1,000 if they come from outside the U.S. So if I create a site, and people come to that site from Brazil, Russia, India, China, I make a fraction of what I make from U.S. traffic. Like I said, I may be going over some of your heads, sorry. Hopefully this is working out okay. Okay? That's Internet Edition. Let's talk about mobile. Same thing. What do they expect growth to be have you heard of the BRIC countries? Have you heard that designation before? Brazil, Russia, India, China. If you want to look at the future, the fastest growth economically will occur in those 4 countries. Anybody who right now is designing a business who doesn't take into account the BRIC countries globally will get run over. You'll get missed, in a big, big way. Okay? So you can see percentage growth when it comes to mobile, and because so many of you guys start looking at my content on your phone, I have to think about how does that work. All right, back to my phone again. Google provides an ad when you look at my website on your phone. Okay? I get paid when you click on that ad. Google tells me today that 40% of every click is because of a fat thumb. So from a design standpoint, think about that for a second. The guy who pays me tells me almost half the revenue that he's paying me is a mistake.
Wait, 40% of all clicks?
40% of all mobile clicks, so right here, of all mobile clicks are fat thumbs. They are unintended. But Google's not willing to do anything about it because we know that's the direction it's going. We know mobile is where it's at. And so if you're in the ad world, you're terrified because the compensation for mobile ads is a fraction of what it is for desktop or web ads. So you get the headline here, from digital dimes to mobile pennies. Okay? Nobody knows how to make money on mobile. Everybody's running there and everybody is terrified. I can name you every publisher I deal with who does not know how to make money on mobile. Because the way you interact with your mobile device is not how you interact with your desktop device. As a content publisher, how do I get you to sit around, read some content, enjoy some content, so I can show you some ads that really don't do any good for the advertiser? You can see the whole broken paradigm here. Okay? Now, this is adoption. How many of you are Apple enthusiasts? Got a few? Okay. This is just insane, and this goes back to what you have on your door. Can you read this okay? This is the first 8 quarters of launch, units shipped, iPods, can you see that right there? iPods, and then the other ones. Oh, there, right there. iPod, iPhone, iPad. That's just insane that somebody could design a product that now all of a sudden I'm going to jump to this one. Now look at that adoption. How many adults now own a tablet in a 3-year window of time? Just crazy. Now how does that affect schools? How does it affect adults? How does it affect curriculum delivery, education, LMS systems, whether it's adult learning in the professional world or kids in K-12? Okay. So what we have to do is we have to find ways that you have a better experience when you come to a web page. This is called multivariate testing. Okay? And we live and die by it on the web. It never ceases to amaze me how my gut is wrong. Okay, really. And I've been doing this for a long time. You would think I would know what was going on. So we're having a little fun. Okay, hopefully this. We're going to see how good you guys are, because you guys should have much better eyes for this than I should.
Does this go on our grade?
And I'll leave that to the professors, to the faculty.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to go through a bunch of slides. These are some of our pages where we're helping you decide what product to buy. Okay? So you'll see here which format drove the most product sales. See the difference? Where that's missing? And these are actual real revenue numbers. Everybody with me? Okay, somebody take a shot. This is pricing. This is called price elasticity for you econ folks. Okay, I've got the same piece of antivirus software. I price it here, I price it here. Here's original price. What happens? You got something in your head?
Are you only displaying one price on the page?
Yes. And how we do multivariate testing on the web is that, this is what's really cool about a web environment, is we show a different page to every other user, or we have multiple pages, we cascade it. So we show, until we see what page rises to the top, then that becomes the page, and then we start testing that page, and you test and test and test and test and test. Okay? So in this case, right, we actually, not bad. This, you can see, was nuts. okay, from a revenue, some price elasticity, how you price stuff. Somewhat counterintuitive. Here's a landing page. Somebody gets here, a landing page, all I want you to do is buy. I've already got you, you've read some content, you've now decided this is the product I want to get here, I want to buy. You want the least amount of friction or interference possible. I'm hoping, folks, that there is some application of what you do from a design standpoint when it comes to education, right? Helping outcomes come with the least amount of friction possible. This is a transaction basis. Okay, you got an idea? Were you surprised or not surprised? You get the right answer? Okay. So, why? Why would, you know, this versus
Big green button.
okay. And actually, you'll find that we test a lot of big buttons and different colors on those buttons on a daily basis.
Not surprised, but not gratified either, because this takes me to a specific product and wants to capture me. And
Yeah.
even though I'm somewhat not smart, I'm not totally idiot, and I go looking for something, and option B gives me something to look for. It gives me a sense of choice.
Right.
So,
So let me help you understand one thing. You're getting here, the prior pages would have been articles written about software. So this is a breadcrumb trail. So you've read a little bit, you're educated, you've seen some reviews, and now you've said, you know what, I think I want to buy this one.
oh, I'm focused on a specific product
Correct.
at this point.
Right, so a landing page, by the time you get here, you've already been down the trail a little bit. But to your point, if you had come in some other way and landed here, that's a real problem. So we also have to analyze how do people get to these pages and what's the most successful way to get them there.
I just add something there.
Please,
This may be a plug for Price's
please.
graphic design thing, but that one there was all about graphic design and leading the eye to a specific place,
Yes, sir.
clean and what you wanted to do.
Go ahead.
So for those sites that you said in Utah that you manage or
Mhm.
influence, do you have any influence over the design of those sites?
Do I?
Yes.
Yeah.
For your company. So can I make a couple recommendations that have been making that yours for several years?
Sure.
All right.
Sure, not right this second, but
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, so here's another design aspect, and again, a landing page. Remember, you're landing here to make a transaction. All I want you to do is pull out your wallet, okay? Got a choice there? Okay, so you're starting to get educated on what works, what doesn't work, okay? This one will surprise you a little bit, I think. Now, these are identical, the content's the same. You can see the background's different, okay? Some ad placement is different. Big hop. Big hop in here. Here's layout. Time I'm gonna keep going here. This is the one that always surprises me. What would you pick? What works for you? What works for you?
I don't know.
It's kind of hard to see what's going on, but if we're going for the antivirus software, A.
Put it this way. But you know what? As an instructional designer, which page is more pleasing to your eye?
What's the context? You said that before.
Okay, great. Thank
It
you.
was
Thank
the
you.
landing page that made
So,
the difference.
great, that's a great point. In this one, you've gone to Google and you've typed in best antivirus software.
Oh,
So this is straight from Google search,
I'd go with B,
okay? And why? Why would Professor Gibbons? Why?
because it's got more information.
Okay,
I've gone there for comparative information, and that shows me the comparative
okay.
information.
So the eye candy doesn't do anything for you,
Not in this case.
right? Okay, please.
I was going to say, I wanted to highlight, you mentioned that it has the same content. You don't, A doesn't have any more or less content than B from what you said.
Except that A's got more above the fold,
Yeah.
right? Because of this right here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at one thing here.
That's fun.
Nice.
And I can't tell you why.
So audience matters.
Audience matters. And we're going to get to time of day matters. We actually have to change up our pages And so when you come in and we see that you're coming in from a European country, we show you one page. If you're coming in from a US IP address, we show you a different page. So we optimize for incoming and then make it more complicated. We now want to know what kind of a browser you come on. We have different purchase experience if you are coming in on Firefox versus IE versus Chrome.
Now, here's a question. The range of products that you've got arrayed across the top of your matrix there, if I was coming in internationally, could you possibly adjust that internationally? That is, do I get British firms rather than US firms?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So what we'll do is we will localize the product not only in currency, but also local product offering.
So everything on the display is tailorable.
It is. And you can imagine, though, how much work that is, because each of these is a link out to something. So trying to keep on top of all those links, we have about 980 of these kind of sites. Each of these have 10 products on it. So just trying to manage all this content is, like I say. So anyway, that's US versus international. Okay, who knows what an upsell is? Please.
How I met my wife, actually. I was selling her a book at Walden Books, and I tried to upsell her to a date, but she wouldn't go for it.
Okay, so you failed.
I failed to the upsell.
I'm going to show you this work.
In the short run.
So
In
what
the
it
short
is
run,
you're
they're
trying to
worth
say, I know that you want the
Cheap version.
the cheap car, and I'm going to say the more expensive car, right? So on the upsell side, you can see the page, right, using that right rail. Why?
Probably business users.
Who said that?
It's probably business users during the weekdays, I
The
imagine.
amount of time people spend at work looking at my stuff, I'm sure glad that employers don't care. Because we spike. You can see when people come to work all across the U.S. We just watch our traffic go, then it goes to Pacific, and then it drops as far as our U.S. traffic. Because our work audience is really, really important to us. And that's why we remember Cyber Monday. Cyber Monday after Black Friday, everybody goes back to work, doesn't do anything, they don't care about work, so they're buying stuff. And so we have to optimize the work experience, and we do that.
That's true, I can do that.
Okay, one last one, okay? So this one says, you're not sure what you want, okay, would you like to use our configurator to find out, and we'll recommend a product for you. You're going to answer a bunch of questions, and we're going to say, based on the way you answer your questions, we're going to say you should buy X. Okay? Which one? You would say A. Like I said, you've got to trust the data and never trust gut. Because you would think, right? She looks, this is great. No. Right? So the importance of data and how data influences decision and design, incredibly off the chart important to us. And as I said before, because we're trying to make money when you buy stuff, because I think the ad environment will continue to shrink. 8 billion impressions from Facebook. All right, let me change gears here real quick. I think about internet startups. One of our local companies just sold. Vivint just sold for $2 billion. And actually, that was only for half the company, by the way. Okay, Vivint just sold for $2 billion. Ancestry has a current market cap of $1.24 billion. Can anybody tell me why? Please.
Market cap,
If you take all their outstanding stock, add it all together, that's how much all their stock is worth, so it's called market capitalization. So what's the market cap? Ancestry.com local, Vivint here local, with B's. Tell me why, as it relates to revenue. I'd rather take 2 weeks, I'll just tell you. Okay? When you go get a Vivint alarm system, what happens? They take your credit card, they hit your credit card, and you're prepaying. So if you're the company, how reliable is that revenue stream? Just comes in every month. You're not going to you're very unlikely to churn or to leave. It's on credit card, it's prepaid, I have very little collections, it comes in like an annuity. If you're Wall Street, you absolutely love it. Because it's predictable revenue. Okay? Now that I give you that, can you see the same thing in Ancestry? Okay? I go buy a product, I pay $100 up front. Okay? They have to capitalize that investment over 12 months. I get all the money up front if I'm the company. So if you're a big private equity company, you bought Ancestry because you love the dependability of that revenue stream. If you're thinking about an internet startup or a web startup, you have absolutely got to be thinking about, how do I drive traffic? How do I make money? Okay? And the way I can make that money, can it be predictable, dependable? Okay? This is where I may have lost all the curriculum designers in the room. Okay, next, valuation and dilution. You know what those words mean? Valuation and dilution. If I go out today and get an angel a guy with some money, he comes to me and he says, yeah, I'll back your company. I'll give you $60,000 for 33% of your company. Good deal or not such a good deal? It really depends, right? If I have no other dollars, if I really want to get my company going, then I might have to do that. Okay? But when you get that kind of valuation and the company grows, all of a sudden, I have a very good friend. He runs a company that makes $16 million a year in revenue. And now after all these investments by outside parties, he now owns 2.3% of the company. That's a really big disincentive to really make this work. So if you can get a startup where you can bootstrap, and in the web, that's relatively straightforward. You can design a product, get out to a customer, see if the customer likes it, start making money, okay? Forget finding an investor. I guarantee you, the state of Utah especially, the state of Utah is notorious for terrible valuation, really cramming you down on price, okay? Because you'll get diluted, meaning when they issue more and more stock to somebody else, okay, you end up owning next to nothing. And that's kind of a lousy way to spend 3 or 4 years of your life, you know, blood, sweat, and tears. Next, VCs versus private equity. Venture capitalists come in and they expect the following. I'll invest in 10 companies. 3 will go bankrupt. Okay? 4 will do somewhat okay. They may return my money to me. Okay? And 2 to 3 will be a 10x. Okay? That's all they look for is the 10x. It is not much different than Vegas. That's what venture capitalist does. Okay? A private equity company comes along behind the venture capitalist. He says, hey, you know what? I'm going to go find the best companies. None will fail, but I'm only going to expect a 3x return on my money. But either way, once you bring in outside money, what changes dynamically in the company, would you say? I may still own 70% of the shares as founder. I own 70% of the shares, they own 30%. And they've given me, over the last 5 years, I've raised $40 million from the state of Utah. Okay? So they give me $40 million. I still own the majority of the shares. What's changed in the dynamic now?
Motivation.
Yes? Pardon me?
Motivation for one.
Motivation. Okay, I've got a lot of money, right? Burning a hole in my pocket, go do something with.
Well, you just gotta like answer to them. I mean, like when you have kids, you're still in control.
Sure, sure. And what's crazy about it, and most folks don't realize, is I have to answer them, and even though they only own 30%, in the contractual language they say, but we can fire you. Even though you're the majority shareholder, you in essence give us that right to make any decision in the company when it comes to major decisions, strategy or employees. So all of a sudden, you now work for somebody, and he can fire you at will. And that's why you see so many CEOs get replaced when new money comes in.
Is this both for VC and private equity?
VC, and when you take money from anybody, it's the same result. Take it. I'm really fast. Roll of equity for employees. Okay. A few years ago, I had a guy come to me and say, this is before I started a company up. He said, Stan, I don't know what everybody's so excited about when it comes to entrepreneurs. Okay? You're an executive, you make a great salary, equity is overrated. Okay? What did I hear? I heard him patting me on the head and saying, there, you just couldn't really make it in our world, right? Drove me crazy. So I ended up going and starting a business. Equity for employees does a couple of things. One, motivates. Okay, why does it motivate? I should say, what equity means, I'm giving them an ownership position in the company. Okay, so it helps them motivate. It helps them to participate. Okay, what else?
Keeps them.
Okay, a stake, right? Retention, absolutely, retention. What's funny in Utah County is the amount of options that are absolutely worthless today. Okay, there's a tremendous amount of companies that have offered all kinds of equity dangling in front of you that have gone bankrupt, and now that paper isn't worth anything. So there's an interesting balance of motivation for single versus married versus further along in their career And as a manager, how do I motivate and retain properly using the different things at my disposal? Freedom, equity, compensation, there's a variety of things. Okay, recognition, okay, a sabbatical once in a while. There's other non-compensation ways to handle employee motivation. The reality of making payroll. We do a terrible job in this country making entrepreneurship sound so exciting. It sounds so wonderful, okay? I arrived at the new shop, and within 3 weeks, riffed or laid off 30% of the employees. Okay? And to cover payroll, I had to mortgage my house. The choice I had to make was, do I or do I not tell my wife that I'm doing that? And it's a hard conversation to have. Okay? So the reality of making payroll with your own credit or your own bank account, risks and relationships, you have to be prepared to go let somebody go, and that somebody may be family. It may be a son, a daughter, a cousin, a parent, or whatever. Okay? Maybe you're seen One Good Man, little LDS movie.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Okay? So he has to, as the HR manager, riff a member of his ward, and he's the bishop of the ward. Okay? That's a very painful process. Let's talk about right now. In 1999, there was a bubble in education startups. There was 102 education startups funded. Of that class, 1999, 20% survived today. The rest failed. All that equity failed, careers were dashed, mortgages, credit, all gone. Now, are we in a bubble again? In 2011, 124 were funded. So what do you think about education startups, which is where I'm going? In 2 minutes. I've started up a new company to help kids discover careers and degrees. I think we do a terrible job in this country of helping kids figure out, what do I want to be when I grow up? That's why I picked this picture. Every kid wants a sorting hat. Everybody here wants a little crystal ball to say, what should I do? What degree should I pursue? In fact, I'm going to do a soapbox here because I just came from the Wilk. Here's all the degrees that BYU offers. Walk into Wilkinson Ballroom, they're going to give you that, and you're going to walk around a bunch of tables and chairs, and you're going to try and decide your future based on a degree from that very short interaction. Let's take high school SEOPs. My son, when he goes to his SEOP, will be given the Utah Student Guide to Career Planning. He'll look through this, and he'll see, okay, a couple of jobs. Hey, look, I get a word search. I then go a couple more pages, and I get, whoa, some more games. And then I get this that says, let's pick one out. That's kind of boring. Floral designer. A floral designer, my interest code, my average wage, how many jobs will be open, and what the projections are, what education is needed. This was handed to me 30 years ago as a high school student, and we have not changed career discovery in this country since then. So as a startup, I see an opportunity. I think we can help kids discover their strengths, their passions, and careers in a much better way and satisfy a constituency that results from the following. 1, moms. Moms around the globe, for 99%, what's the learning outcome they want? I want my kid to get a job. Okay? We can debate the importance of education, right? That's a different conversation. Okay? So I have a global audience. Okay? I have Fortune 500 companies who want what? They're tired of remediating their brand new employees. The amount of money they pay to create skills in those students who can walk out with a piece of paper from a D1 school is atrocious. How do I fix that? Okay, and I wanted dissatisfaction with students who get a degree and have to go through a midlife crisis because they're not happy with what they're pursuing, or that career falls apart, or they're now competing globally. My children compete with kids from Brazil, Russia, India, China. And if their skills don't match up, they will be relegated to lower service-paying jobs. So as they think about degree and job and opportunity, they need a better hand in making progress in that arena.
And when we're talking about skills, we're not just talking about the ability to weld or the ability to make a business decision. There's a new level of knowledge that makes us competitive.
One of the things that you and I are going to talk about as we continue to go forward is creativity. Creativity and collaboration. Okay? Because let's go way back to the beginning. this and watermelons. You want to have career security moving forward. You better be able to come up with squares and watermelons. Okay? Because I can find cheaper services anywhere on the globe for almost any job you can imagine. And my best example of that, I'll close with this, my best example of that is when you pull up into a McDonald's restaurant, okay, and I come up and order, okay, for some of those restaurants, who am I talking to? Where is that person? Philippines, Austin, Texas, or India. They have found they could be more efficient by having it go to a call center. The person takes it, right? They take a snapshot of you in the car, and then the very much lower paid person sees the picture of you, sees the car, hands you your bag. If I can outsource customer service, taking an order at McDonald's, I guarantee you for the next 10 to 20 years, I can outsource almost any job. So unless we help kids figure out how to have creative, collaborative, great skills, they are messed up.
Is that really happening? I mean,
That's
have my
Austin,
local McDonald's?
Austin, Texas, the Philippines, and India.
That is so funny.
Because as an owner-operator, I can drop the price and do a better job of doing it. Less translation, less training, less those things. So folks, that was really, really fast. Hope there's some value. Appreciate you guys are doing in the world of education and curriculum design, because I think you're in a place which, for me, incredible changes are going to happen. I've told my son, who's here at BYU, if I had to pick any one of 3 areas globally I want to be in for a career, it's healthcare, it's energy, it's education. So hopefully this is a great experience for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan.